So this session starts in the middle. It starts in a conversation that we're already in the middle of. It doesn't start like a blank page. It starts with the tunes already playing and the technology already being fixed. And it starts because we wanted to bring together some real creativity and a bit of disruption, and we started talking about competitive innovation. And so I'm about to hand the stage over to Enda McNulty, to Porrick Moyles, to Brian Quinn, to Jeremiah Malonzo, and to Jane Pomplay. And I'm about to get out of the way.
My name is Enda McNulty. I'm excited to be with you. The reason I'm on this stage is I've been inspired by a gentleman called Dr. Ian Robertson about the potentiality of the brain, to understand how the brain intersects with what we do in professional sport, what we do in global business, but most importantly, what we do every day to understand our potentiality. Our ask of you for the next 45 minutes is we make it very experiential. We get everybody engaged. Even when we're playing the fiddle, we're going to ask you to either tap along or clap along. And everybody in the audience, whether it's in the studio or whether it's at home, can do one of those things. So as Jane plays so eloquently in the background, we're going to ask if it's okay that everybody claps along. Let's try that out. As you can see, we're going to make it very experiential. So what are we going to be talking about? That intersection between creativity, innovation, competition, business, sport, some of the greatest performance artists in the world. And about halfway through, Dominic is going to facilitate some disruption. In other words, you can ask us all the questions in the world and we can answer questions very fast. Our only ask of you for that is that you ask your question fast. Dominic will make sure it's facilitated fast and that we answer very fast. Raise both hands if we're happy with that little instruction. So the only instructions are we want you to clap, we want you to tap, we want you to sing if relevant, and we definitely want you to ask your questions very fast in the disruption part of that. Is that okay? So in the nature of disruption, there might be somebody in your left or your right. Give them a little bit of a bump with your elbow for me, please. Okay, my name is Enda McNulty, and I'm going to be talking to you about how the hell we understand the brain more if we're going to allow ourselves to compete at the highest level, or maybe even to flourish. You'll be meeting my colleague, Porrick Moyles, the amazing, world-renowned Porrick Moyles. He's too humble to say, imagine 5,500 shows around the world for Riverdance, in front of Mariah Carey and in front of Michelle Obama. That's pretty special. He's going to be up next. I want you to raise the roof off this amazing knocked-in studio for Mr. Porrick Moyles.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You guys are good at following instructions. First was the clap, which you just did there very, very well, so thank you very much. My name is Porrick Moyles. I am a husband, a father, a brother, a son, and every day I go to work, I get to play. I'm the executive producer and associate director with Riverdance, where we work in the creative arts industry. And like I said a moment ago, every day is a play day for us. We get to imagine, we get to think, we get to innovate, we get to push. And every day we get to ask ourselves two questions. what if, and why not?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brian Quinn, and I knew I should have gone before Padraig Miles. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm a technologist, a lifelong technologist, and I'm involved on a daily basis on the application of artificial intelligence. As exemplified by the previous keynote, brilliant keynote from Donal, it's a conversation we need to have. We need to understand the current potential of artificial intelligence and the current capability and the full future potential of artificial intelligence. We need that conversation as a community, as a species, and we need to be very, very aware of the future potential of it. I'm very excited about it, by the way, and I think it's mostly for the better, but I'm excited that it's very, very important that we have that conversation. So thank you very much.
There you go.
I'm going to take a moment of your time to tell you a little story, my little story. I was born here in Dublin, and at the age of 7 or 8, I moved to New York. So you can imagine what's happening for a 7 or 8-year-old when they're leaving their homeland to go to a new land, which was New York in our case. So my family, my 2 brothers, my sister, and my parents, we moved over to New York, where we became more Irish than we ever were when we were in Ireland. So what that meant Irish music, it meant Irish dancing, it meant Gaelic football, and all that goes along with it. So you can imagine as a young 8 or 9-year-old growing up in the Bronx and wearing a kilt, it wasn't always fun. I like you. I'm going to keep you in the front row. So there were challenges along the way, right, in Irish dancing as a young kid. But at the same time, my parents were very strong-minded and were very intent on us keeping those Irish roots and remembering and thinking about where we came from. So with that, Irish dancing stayed as part of the ever-present Irish being that we were. And I tried to quit a number of times. In fact, I had joined the Irish Repertory Theatre at one stage where the director of Phantom of the Opera, his name was Hal Prince, who recently passed away, he directed a show that he cast me in to be a member of, which was the life of Sean O'Casey. So believe it or not, everything kind of came back to being at home. From there, I decided that I didn't like Irish dancing anymore. Have any of us ever been put into something in our lives that we didn't like? Yeah, hands up. I see loads of hands going up. Great. Well, my hand was up there at one stage as well, but my mom didn't give me a choice. And thankfully, she knew what was best for me. And with that, she did not allow me to quit when I thought that was what I needed to do. Lo and behold, 4 or 5 years later, the emergence of Riverdance, the international phenomenon that took the world by storm. This new way of looking at an old art form, this new way of hearing traditional music. You see, you had three incredible people come together to lead an incredible team through collaboration, through culture, through innovation. You had John McColgan, the director, Moya Doherty, the producer, and Bill Whelan, the Grammy Award-winning composer, come together to create something that was truly spectacular and changed the face of not just Irish dancing, but Irish culture and how it was seen around the world. How many of us have heard of Riverdance, seen Riverdance? For those of us at home, I'm imagining you're all raising your hands as well. And I can only imagine as well that you guys understand or have some sort of understanding, let's say, around how collaborative that team has to be, how creative that team had to be in order to find the success. Now, nobody's going to deny that luck plays a part in anything. It does. It plays a part in every success. But these three people, they came together with one vision and one mission in mind to change how the world sees and hears Ireland. And you can imagine the adversity and the challenges they faced along the way. One, you had Moya Doherty at RTE, where they were telling her that the Eurovision Song Contest, the intermission, the interval act, should not be Irish dancing. She asked, why not? She asked, what if? What if we could do it in a new way? What if we could help the world and this country see it in new eyes, through a different scope? What would that look like? And then you have Bill come along, changing time signatures of music, switching it back and forth. And then you have the dancers say, well, how am I going to dance to that? But always, ultimately, there was a solution-orientated mindset. And that's what effectively completely changed my view on Irish dancing. From that moment on, it was performance. You got to perform the dance. You didn't just dance it, you performed it. And with that came a new opportunity. An opportunity for me to once audition, I'll tell you the audition story in a second, but two, to create more longevity, have a career. So in 1997, I decided that I would cut school in the Bronx and I would drive up to Boston to audition for Riverdance. Never told my parents until I came home from school one day and my mom was sitting there, right? This is back in 1997, so there was no emails. It was letters in the post. And there was a little logo in the top left-hand corner of the envelope and it said Riverdance on it. So I came home from school, my mom was sitting at the kitchen table and she's holding the envelope. And I'm like, uh-oh. I'm either in huge trouble or this is going to be a great day. So my mom opens the envelope, she opens the letter, and sure enough, I had gotten into Riverdance. It was a huge dream come true, and a lot of it was in large part down to my parents. So I joined Riverdance on November 17th, 1997, and slowly but surely I began to climb through those ranks. And ultimately, throughout that entire journey, which, as Enda has already pointed out, 5,500 shows, as both the lead dancer, a troupe dancer, a dance captain, the most important thing in all of that was remembering why we started, the joy, the passion, the constant evolution of wanting to improve. And maybe most important of all was the team, the collaborative spirit, the supportive spirit, the culture that Riverdance has, and what it represents around the world. Today, I've transitioned from being let's say, an artist on the stage to more the business side off the stage as an executive producer and associate director. So there's been a huge transition from one side of my brain, being that creative side and trying to push the boundaries, to the business side, understanding the numbers, understanding the strategy, the risk, and everything that goes along with it. But maybe most importantly, that really resonates with the Riverdance culture is looking after the people, understanding the people, knowing that one rule might not just exist for everybody, that each person needs to be dealt with because of the humans that they are, the people that they are. And that's probably the most interesting challenge I have in my job today, is not just thinking about the future, where we can go, what we can do, how we can continuously evolve, but the people within the organization. Where are they going to be in 10 years? And how can we help them get there starting today? As we talk about the creative brain, I'm going to finish up my little story here with one personal story, one story that I don't share too often, but it's the most powerful tool I've ever seen in terms of the brain. About 6 years ago, or 5.5 years ago, my daughter, our daughter, was diagnosed with autism, severe autism. I remember being told, me and my wife sat across the table, from the doctors that had diagnosed her. They told us she'd probably never talk, that she'd probably never go to mainstream school, and that we were probably in for a life of care. And I remember how that shaped our life. And even as I say it right now, I feel that lump inside my chest. And I remember thinking, that can't be the future for our daughter. That's not the future we imagined, that we created in our heads. So what's next? My wife, being the incredibly strong woman that she is, said, what's next is action. There's no good just thinking about it. We need to act. And we will find the most and best people in this practice, in this industry, in this world of autism or being on the spectrum. We will seek them out, we will find them, we will learn from them, and we will determine what our daughter's future looks like. Not the doctors who say it's probably this. Today, as a 7-year-old, our daughter talks. Our daughter eats a huge range of foods. Our daughter goes to mainstream school where she adds, where she subtracts, where she reads. I'm going to finish up with, there is no limit to the human brain, the creativity of the human brain. There is no limit to any of it. We have the power to take action. We have incredibly smart people around us. All we have to do is reach out. Be willing to learn. Be willing to push our own boundaries and understand our own human strength that exists in here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pádraig. Although we present ourselves as individuals, the reality is we're here as a team. I think it's a very important theme as we think about artificial intelligence and human creativity, the ability of humans to create teams that are effective, our ability to collaborate. And many times did Pádraig say team, did he say people, did he say collaboration when he talked about creativity? It was a team effort. And as we have this ongoing discussion about artificial intelligence, we shouldn't be defensive. We shouldn't think a computer can't be creative. We shouldn't limit the definition, but we should embrace the types of traits and behaviors that humans have that are still light years ahead of what a computer can do. Empathy, collaboration, trust. These type of things will always keep humans ahead of the game, so to speak, and we should embrace that discussion around artificial intelligence and creativity there. I'm from Clones in County Monaghan. I grew up in the 80s through the Irish education system. I went to Dublin City University where I studied computer science. I spent over 20 years with Intel. And I was fortunate enough to run significant research programs for Intel at a European level and at a corporate level. I think that background gave me a really good understanding on how a company as significant as Intel is in the technology age that we live through, how a company as significant of Intel, how it worked, and how it pushed the boundaries of innovation, and how it pushed the boundaries of, very importantly, as we would have seen it in Intel, of adoption. We had this notion in Intel that innovation in the technology world was ultimately about adoption. people had to use it. People had to embrace your technology change and to use it. So innovation for us was ultimately about adoption. Now, I'm going to go back to a number of themes that Donald had in his keynote. And if you recall, he talked about a scenario where the brain could be isolated from its senses, and use that as a very good comparison to the capability of compute, and the notion that compute is only the brain without the senses. But the reality is that over the last number of years and ongoing, is that there's incredible advancements in how we feed information into computers. Sensor technology has seen incredible advancements. I'll speak about it in a moment, but Earth observation, cameras in space at low orbit can see in really, really small detail what's happening on Earth. The ability for chemical sensors to sense. So we are actually bridging that gap, between that sense gap to computers, to feed information to computers that they ultimately can continue learn and continue evolve. I left Intel about 2 years ago, and I've been involved in a number of startups. Most specifically, I'm involved in a startup called Ubotica. And what Ubotica are doing is bringing artificial intelligence into space. We're trying to make satellites smart. That the Earth observation and the communication satellite that's up there, that's flying 24/7 around the world, can think what it's doing. Now, at the moment, with satellites, the mode of operation is that a satellite will capture data 24/7, and it will download that data, raw data, to Earth. We're trying to exploit intelligence from the data on the satellite and see that as disruptive in the whole application of technology in a space context. It's very achievable. We think, again, that the ability of this sensor to capture really, really important information, and then the ability of the compute we can put into satellites to execute that, the processing and the throughput really, really quickly to exploit intelligence and ultimately send the intelligence back down to Earth. So look, I'm really looking forward to the conversation and how technology and artificial intelligence affects our lives and will affect our lives in the future. So thanks very much.
When you're brought up in South Armagh, disruptions every day, collisions every day. I'm going to start with a story. I think I was 10 years of age. I can vividly remember it. I was standing brushing my teeth, and suddenly I can remember glass in my mouth. And I was thinking, this is funny, and then I can remember blood coming down my face. I could see it in the little mirror, my mother's little makeup mirror. And I can remember something not right. There had been a bomb, the IRA had planted a bomb, 3 British soldiers were killed, 1 police officer, 500 yards from our house. And as I started to get my head around what was going on, blood, glass, I realized, of course, there was a bomb. The next thing I remember was my sister screaming. My sister had been outside the house, going to school with a little green school bag over her head. I'll never forget the colour of the school bag. As she walked back towards the house in panic with tears streaming down her face, I'll never forget my mother. My mother was the picture of resilience, like the Ukrainian people today. She was the picture of resilience. She gathered us all nice and caringly. She put her hands on our shoulders. She brought us into the middle room in the house, the little small living room. She knew that the middle room was the most protected room in the house, just like the people in Ukraine that are hovering under bridges as we speak today. My mother showed incredible resilience. I'll never forget it. She sat us down. She sat us down nice and quietly, almost like a huddle, and we might even play a little bit of music for effect. She sat us down. I can remember vividly music in the background. I don't know why, but it was traditional Irish music. I don't know. And to be honest with you, I've never shared it with my mother to ask her, did she play the music? Did she play the music to make it normal? That we were sitting there after a bomb attack to make it normal? I don't know. I must ask her. She's still alive and well. And then what did she say? She said, Enda, get your school books. Justin, get your gear bag. Emer, get your stuff. Paul, get your gear bag. You're going to school. We says, Mum, what? We're going to school. Yeah, we're going to school. It just had been a bomb. The house was just had to be literally shuttered. Everybody do that for a second, please. Literally shuddering. And she said, get your stuff. I said, Mummy, there's football practice today. Get your football gear. You're going to school. And yes, you'll be going to football practice. And in that moment, my mother gave us the biggest inspiration I ever got in my life about what real resilience is. So if we think about the creative brain, let's be honest, we as individuals in this room have a responsibility to teach, to educate, to inspire people about what we can do with our brains if we've got a user manual, as this gentleman so eloquently said to me recently, and the CEO of Intel Ireland, Eamon Sinnott. Dr. Ian Robertson used that amazing phrase. If we had a user manual for the brain, imagine the potential of young girls and young women around the world. And yes, I start with young girls and young women because we know what the evidence is. If we empower and educate and train and inspire young girls and women around the world, we're going to have a better world. We're going to have less of the people with their names beginning with P. Would you agree with that? If you strongly agree with that, please make an audio effect. Okay. So we have got a responsibility, and I mean people, amazing people like Jane, amazing people like Porrick, amazing people like Brian, and our company, what we exist to do is to help unlock people's potential in collaboration with amazing people on Creative Brain Week. And by the way, if you've been inspired so far by what you've seen and what you've heard and what you know is on this amazing week, please can you make a lot of noise with your hands or your feet or your voice? I'm loving this lady's energy. I'm loving your charisma. I'm loving your growth mindset. So I'm going to tell you 2 or 3 little powerful things. I hope it's okay. Message 1, resilience. Please, please build resilience every day. Today in the gym, I was building my resilience at 7 a.m. Dominic was sending me emails at about 6:30 a.m., believe it or not. Eamon at the back, who's on the technology, was sending me a little note about getting the videos, and these amazing videos, as you can see. We're very lucky to be intersecting with some of these amazing world-leading people. We're very lucky. But yet, you wouldn't believe how practical it is. You wouldn't believe it. So imagine if you're coaching the #1 athlete in the world. You might say, and it must be very advanced. No, it's very practical. Getting them to understand how to control their mind in the white heat of battle. How do you teach them how to control the mind in the white heat of battle? Whisper at me if you're an introvert. Scream it at me if you're an extrovert. How do you think? Teach them how to breathe. Teach them how to breathe under the pump when you're just about to kick and a penalty in front of 85,000 people in Twickenham. Teach them how to get 3 simple, slow power breaths. Everybody, I hope that's okay. Get 3 simple, slow power breaths. Sit up nice and straight, shoulders back, feet firm on the floor. Get me 3 big breaths, please. That's a half a breath. Give me a proper breath, please. And at home, our home audience, please. Now, as you sit there, can I ask you to sit up nice and strong and nice and confident? And yes, Dr. Ian's also led some world-leading research on confidence. Another big power, confident breath, please. And my second story, as the train is very theatrically going past us with almost perfect precision. At home, I had a dream. And my dream was that I'd be lucky enough someday to play in front of 85,000 people in that mythical old Gladiator Stadium in Croke Park. That was my dream. I wasn't that talented. I wasn't that good. In fact, the boys in the local school used to laugh. Enda, sure, Enda can't run too well. The coaches used to laugh. Enda, he'll never make the minor team. And the girls used to laugh. Here he comes with his gear bag again. But in my own head, like Porrick, I had a big dream. I had a big aspiration, not only to be the best I could be, but to help people around me to be the best they could be. And I never forget having a little ball. I used to bounce it on the floor, and throw it up on top of the tiles on the roof at home, and that same home in South Armagh. Some of the tiles were broken, of course, by the bombs, but I loved that because when you threw the ball up against those tiles, it had a more uneven edge, and the ball would bounce like that. In other words, I was teaching myself agility. And what I figured was that if I train my body agile, I'm also training my brain. I'm also making myself ready to train my brain to be agile. So just for a second, I'm going to test your agility. You've got no longer, and we will play the fiddle, and Jeremiah, the rock star Jeremiah Malonzo, can I bring you back on stage very quickly? Give him a little bit of cheer. Right back on stage? Right back on stage here? Okay, so I'm going to test your agility. You're going to go and change seats, but you've got no longer than 10 seconds, and if there's somebody in your way, be agile, Brian, and move around them. Go! Beatboxing. Yeah. So as I bounced that ball, I was thinking someday I'm going to build my confidence good enough. I'm going to build my mental toughness good enough. Imagine that concept. Everybody hold on to your bicep muscles for me. It's just a muscle, but we have to work at it. If you want to read about that, just read Confidence by Dr. Ian Robertson, and you'll get the user manual on that as well. Or read Commit by Mr. Enda McNulty about how you build your confidence. And I figured out that if I do this physically, there must be an equivalent of this mentally. And I remember running around a field. I remember vividly running around a field and going, I'm getting physically stronger. I know my heart's getting stronger. I can feel my lungs getting stronger. I can feel my legs getting stronger. I can feel my core getting stronger. But there has to be something. There has to be something that allows my mind to get stronger. And there it happened. I got handed a book. My father handed me a book at 14 years of age. Tim Galloway, The Inner Game of Tennis. And there it was. He handed me the user manual for me to understand how to build my confidence, how to understand the brain in simple terms, how to understand that if I could control this on my own, throwing that little ball against the wall, well, then there would be a day that I could be confident in front of 85,000 people. Or maybe in some of the online sessions, believe it or not, 1.5 million people online. So how do we build that confidence? I decided there and then, reading that book, I was going to train my brain every day. I'd say out of 365, I'd probably train it 360. I have an odd day when I feel completely shit, when I feel vulnerable. To be honest with you, when I feel that the company that's in scale-up mode, I think, oh, fuck. Holy shit, how can we do it? Somebody leaves. Somebody says, and I don't like your leadership style. Somebody else says, we're going too fast. Somebody else says, how the hell is the bank going to give us that funding? Somebody else says, how could a small company like ours work with the biggest company in the world, Amazon? But in those moments, I make a decision never to have 2 bad days in a row. Never. That's a golden rule that I'd like everybody in the audience to leave today's session with. We never have 2 bad days in a row. The day you feel bad, the next day you decide to get back on it again. Whether it's bouncing that ball, whether it's your meditation, whether it's your visualization, whether it's your affirmation, whether it's your incantation, or whether it's your journaling. Whatever little exercise you use, you're on it to try and build your, scream at me nice and loud, your confidence nice and loud for me, please. Confidence. Your resilience nice and loud for me, please. Your mental toughness nice and loud for me, please. And of course, your creativity. So when I started to have collisions with men like this, I met him on the Grafton Street in 2007, July, and we had a collision about the intersection between performance arts, sports, global business, and of course, overall performance. And we challenged each other vigorously. That's in 2007. Every time we meet, we challenge each other. Then I was on a plane heading to Sweden on behalf of a particular company. I'm going there again tomorrow morning. And this guy notices my GA bag and stops me, and he says, who are you? And he says, I'm leading Intel Labs Europe. And I go, wow, holy shit, can we have another conversation? And that's about 12 years ago. And then I'm in a lecture hall, this lecture hall, and I was mesmerized. Dr. Ian Robertson gave a lecture about the power of the brain. It's maybe 12 years ago. It took me 10 years to have the courage to reach out to him and to meet him. Honestly, it took me 10 years to have the courage to reach out to him. Now, aren't I stupid? because I could have made a lot more impact on a lot more Afro-Caribbeans' lives. Like the young gentleman behind me, who I'm lucky to have met about a year and a half ago in a photo shoot, and I saw inside him there was unbelievable spirit and potentiality. Because yes, I've got a responsibility, don't I? Because I can teach him to unlock his potential. Imagine how many in his community he's going to impact the potential. If you strongly agree with that, please give a big roar for Jeremiah Malonzo. What a name. Jeremiah Malonzo. And you'll be hearing that name again. Or this amazingly talented fiddle player. Give her a big round of applause for Jane. What an amazing fiddle player. I'm loving it. I'm loving the sound effects I'm getting over here. So what are my key messages so far? 1, resilience. 2, confidence is a muscle. Please, please, if you're a mommy or a daddy, please teach it every day. Please. If you're a teacher, please teach it every day. If you're a business leader, please teach it every day. If you're a technologist, please, and we're working on this with Brian, and we love to collaborate with the neuroscientists in the room, we're going to be building applications that teach people how to train their brain every day. Okay? And my last message. The people in Ukraine are showing us all and giving us all the inspiration that we've got a moral obligation to do the right thing, don't we? We've got a moral obligation to build resilience ahead of the bloody bombs. If my mom's resilience wasn't so strong that day, that morning in South Armagh, God knows what would have happened to us if she wasn't so resilient. Now, because of her resilience, that's impacting my resilience, my family's resilience, hopefully someday your resilience and your community's resilience. So on that note, can I ask you to sit strong, take a deep breath, and commit that in the next 90 days, not 30 days, to do something each and every single day that impacts your confidence, your resilience, and your mental toughness. If you're committed to that, can you give me that very famous Black Power motif? Everybody. Hold in that position just for a second. And yes, we'll take a screenshot with the photographer in the audience, please. And for those of you at home, hold up that fist nice and strong. Yes, that's you. That gives you the cue. There's a disruption for you, real time. Take it off us, and then we'll take a 360 of you in the audience. We want to see more about you than about us. Okay. So in a second, Dominic's going to ask us lots of questions, and he's going to turn the camera around on you guys. But if it's okay, as Dominic's getting to the stage, can you just for 60 seconds talk about what has inspired you with this session so far? From Jane, from Porrick, from Brian, and from Jeremiah. Just discuss it for 60 seconds. Go. How long have we got? 10 minutes? How long have we? Yes. Amazing.
We want to keep it going. We wanted to move it along and involve you. We wanted to stop this barrier between the stage and us. When we started this session, we didn't quite know where it's going to go, and we found a nickname for it, and we called it Rockets, Rugby, and River Dance. But we're going to have to add to that. We're going to have to add Rockets, Rugby, River Dance, Rap, and Resilience. So, but we want to add in you. So, questions, thoughts, any ideas, anybody, anywhere? Yeah, I can take one from here. Did you get to Crow Park?
Did you get to Crow Park? I got to Crow Park a few times. I won't tell you too much about that, but I'll get you to go online and do some research. We got to Crow Park. We got to Crow Park a lot.
We'll take one over there. Does anybody over there? Yeah. If you've got another question, put your hand up and then we can move faster. So while we're looking around, yeah, there's definitely
Mine is not a question, it's just to say thank you. I really appreciate this moment. It's beautiful. Thank you so much.
There's one up at the back, and while you're looking at that, we should also say thank you. Thank you is in itself a question. The question is, what am I grateful for?
First of all, thank you so much. It was like very inspirational and motivational, of course. you guys have literally, again, got that motivational thing out of me, that, inspiration you're being to me right now. But I really want to ask you guys, like, maybe all of you, that at some point it was a starting point for you as well. So, how did you guys build up that courage, that, the resilience thing, that of course you can do it, you can, um, you know, just get yourself forward to it and get on the track?
We want some disruption, so please come on down to the stage and we'll tell you in a second. And I'll get the guys to give a very quick answer to that, but come on down on stage. We're going to be involving you in disruption. I'll go to Parag for a quick answer.
I think it's like anything, really. You're going to have a little bit of self-doubt from time to time. And when that creeps in, the important thing is to say, I can do this, we can do this. And there's loads of people out there for support. The biggest thing, I think, when it comes down to these things is we get scared inside and then we shut it down, rather than getting scared inside and asking for help. And when we ask for help, there's hundreds and thousands of people that are willing to help us. We just need to be willing to ask for it.
Round of applause, please.
So, what else? What would people like to add in? I can see one up here. I'm going to run up, and while I'm running up, I'm doing the handover.
So my question for you all is, we're all feeling, I think, all uplifted and inspired and motivated, and I'm certainly going to get out of my bed earlier in the morning after thinking of Enda there. But what are the big, why doesn't this happen all the time? What are the obstacles to this? Why aren't people motivated and uplifted more often than they are?
I'll give my quick response and then we'll get a response across the stage. My quick reaction is our educational system needs to be teaching resilience in kindergarten, literally. That's the first answer. My second answer is I don't believe actually in motivation. I believe in that we move and we act, our motivation shifts. So for me, it's the old concept of whenever you move, it changes your emotion, which significantly impacts your motivation. Secondly, and thirdly, when we get people around us that inspire us, like the two ladies on the left-hand side or the ladies and gentlemen on the right-hand side, when you're inspired, it's much easier to be motivated. So I actually don't believe a huge amount in motivation. I believe much more in perspiration and purpose. If we have a purpose in life, we're going to be motivated. My purpose in life is to help unlock people's potential, so my motivation looks after itself.
I would say one thing about how we set ourselves up as humanity. We lack diversity more often than not in our groups. As a technologist, I'll spend 95% of my time with other technologists. It's a homogeneous group. We think the same way. We operate the same way. I think that one of that speciality of humanity is diversity, and how we bring the creator, the artist, the technologist together, and we spark and we motivate each other, and we should think about that more as how we set ourselves up.
And on that note, we're going to wrap this up with you guys being the stars of the show. We're going to bring these very powerful ladies on stage at the front. Come on ahead. Come on ahead.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi.
So what's going to happen, for those behind, you guys can stand as well, just so we get the home audience to see where you are. Jane's going to play a little bit, and we're going to ask you, if it's okay, this lady's going to lead with a lovely, what was that vocal noise you made earlier on? Now we're talking about disruption. So we're going to have, you can make a vocal noise, you can use your feet. If you're like me and you haven't got too much rhythm, you can use your hands, or you can use whatever you want. But we're going to try, and Parag will also, because he's one of the best performers in the world, literally in his performance art, he will use his feet, but we're going to try and get everybody choreographed to have an amazing, including those at home, an amazing 3 minutes encapsulation of Creative Brain Week. Is everybody ready? Led by Jane.
So, all I can do is bring it to a close. I'd like to thank you in the room. I'd like to thank you online. I'd certainly like to thank all the presenters, all the speakers and the audience. Thank you, and we move on.